and thank you for joining me today. I've been receiving information the past couple of days, maybe even over the past week or so, just regarding California. And there seems to be different things going on. We've already had the discussion regarding some what appears to be military-related caravans of like a train with military vehicles on it, headed toward certain destinations. But now I want to take a look at some events that are happening regarding the safety of the Californians and related to some of the dams that have been either neglected or have because due to funds, or some people are alluding to the fact that there is some financial issues and that the state is broke. But there's particularly a lot of activity going on here, and so there is the Oroville Dam in particular, I guess, has a spillway which is in disrepair, and it is being inundated by water flow, which is causing some damage. That they have an outflow of around 9,500 cubic feet per second, but it expels well, I should say it expels about 9 cubic feet, and it's about 10.5 or 11 is coming in. So there's clearly a difference in how much cubic feet it can manage per second, and so it's going to be further exacerbated by any type of weather conditions or any type of melting of the Sierra Mountains that are happening. And one of the things that they said was that within, if it breaks or if there is a major issue, the water flow could really be very, very dangerous and inundating to the locals, that it would require 45 minutes to evacuate a considerable amount of people, and which could be very, very scary, or very much a nightmare. I'm not sure what they're doing for this. It sounds like they're putting some band-aids on it, which is clearly not enough, and further putting the Californians at risk. I mean, fires. I believe there was a problem with this dam a couple of years ago, the exact same ones. Some people have, hinted that there were dams and some other military things going on there, or that it's intentional. They did something really interesting in one of the videos where they show that there was, looking at the earlier structure of it, that on the left-hand side of the spillway, that it was kind of like moderate land. There were a lot of trees. And then there was that overflow that occurred, and after the overflow, to the right of that, originally there was quite a few trees, woods, and a significant amount of trees. And then to the left of it, now, after the rebuilding or fixing it, the left-hand side seems to have trees and the right-hand side doesn't. So they're questioning what is the intention here. And hopefully the intention is not going to affect anyone and harm anyone in the process. But it is something to be aware of, that this is being overlooked, and people are not getting the information because the mainstream media is not telling anyone. There's also a Prado Dam that's also in disrepair in Orange County, so that's another issue. There was another thing that I was informed about, and that is the New York Times covered this one. It didn't happen in California from what I heard, but well, it's a corroded well lining caused Aliso Canyon gas leak that displaced thousands. And this article says that for more than 100 days in 2015-2016, gas leaked out of Aliso Canyon natural gas storage facility near Los Angeles, the largest known leak of methane in the United States in history. More than 8,300 households were evacuated, and people were exposed to the gas, reported nosebleeds, dizziness, and respiratory issues. This week, California regulators said that they now know why the environmental catastrophe happened. And so I guess there's a 258-page report that's talking about this rupture that happened 892 feet below ground. I mean, this is pretty bad. So my friend from California, lives near LA, has been saying, I don't feel good. I really feel sick. I'm having respiratory problems. I'm having issues. And then she said, now I know why. And she sent me this article. So are they deliberately not telling the people, and why? Are they allowing their facilities to go into disrepair? I mean, what is happening here? So this article came out on May 17th, 2019. They're referring to something that occurred in 2015, in 2016. That doesn't sound right. This well was originally drilled in April of 1954 as part of an oil field that had been depleted, and the well was used since 1973 to store natural gas. In 2015, it emitted about 100,000 metric tons of methane, said state regulators. That's an awful lot. There are also more than 36,000 other people suing the company in civil court due to the problem. I'm sure this has, affected many people that had no idea why they were feeling sick. Probably went to the doctors and couldn't figure it out. Okay, so on to another issue that has come up, and this was very strange too. May 19, 2019, Citi SIDI customers in the USA warned of delays to orders after a F-16 fighter jet crashes into a warehouse. So they have footage of this F-16 flying, and it just goes right into a warehouse of people driving by on a highway. And I can't imagine what that feeling, like, that sinking feeling that you get when you see something happening. You're like, I can only drive so fast. I don't know what's going to go on here. Fortunately, nothing happened other than that it crashed, but the plane was carrying live armaments when it hit the building, but only injuries were minor. So I guess they warned customers to expect delays in order for after the U.S. Air Force F-16 fighter Falcon jet crashed into the warehouse in California. It is really strange. Since when does a fighter jet just crash into a warehouse? It said the NORAD alert aircraft was flying with a standard armament configuration as part of its Operation Noble Eagle commitments. We're not really hearing much about the Noble Eagle commitments. The nature of the ordnance that the F-16 was carrying has not been disclosed for operational reasons, but given the mission it was engaged in, believed likely to have compromised air-to-air missiles. The armament has been secured and will be disposed of in accordance with the Air Force policies and regulations. Although the crash did cause significant structural impact to the warehouse, a small fire that broke out was quickly extinguished by the building's sprinkler system. That is very strange. So we're going to have all the links to all of these articles available for people to look at, but clearly there's some issues that are coming up in California to be hit again. I don't know why they're targeting California in particular. It seems very, very strange. And my question is once they're finished doing whatever they do in California, is the East Coast next, or who is their next target? Okay, so another story relates to a bunch of storms and flooding that's happening out in the Midwest. Now, I actually lived out in the Midwest for a while, and I know what it's like to be in a situation where there's a tornado, and I've seen the flooding because of, I don't know, it's just kind of the layout of the land. It's in many of the regions in the Midwest, it's kind of flat, but with an excess of rain, it can really cause problems. And since the Midwest is the breadbasket of the U.S., it really puts everything into a very dire situation where, this loss of crops and, especially this time of year where the plants are young, when they could otherwise sustain, the water, the excess of water. But it sounded like some of the tornadoes that came through just really ripped through many different states. Where they were talking about Arkansas, Nebraska, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, all along that region. And then, of course, the flooding that happened in Mississippi, in Dallas, I guess in the Baton Rouge area in Mississippi, and Dallas was another area. They also mentioned that there were about over 100 flights that were postponed because of the weather issues. So it's like something, and people don't pay attention to the Midwest. Midwest is really, really critical in assisting the U.S. Providing food sources and also different types of industry. And they usually do get hit with heavy tornadoes and storms, but this sounds like something quite exaggerated. Now, I've seen tornadoes, but some of the tornadoes that I've been seeing pictures of, they didn't exist years ago. I've never seen anything like that before. And tornadoes have a tendency of, like they call them a funnel cloud sometimes, or a wall cloud. And it creates, this sort of weird phenomenon. The sky looks odd. And one of the things that happens, and kind of you get a hint that there's going to be a weather issue, is that everything goes very silent. You don't hear any birds. It's almost like some kind of weird air pressure. And then suddenly you see that there are, it's kind of an indication for those especially who live there, will know when something's coming through. And sometimes it can sound like a train coming through. And so you have these funnel clouds where they're like these, swirling, just tornadoes coming down. They drop down and then they come up. And I've seen an entire side of the road wiped out and the other side completely untouched. I have literally seen a house that was picked up, spun around, and dropped right back on the foundation exactly. It is the weirdest thing. You can see a piece of straw or hay, like as if it penetrated right through a tree, and it doesn't make any sense. But the wind is so incredible and so intense and very dangerous. And I know there are those that are storm chasers. I was, I've been in a glass building before of watching one of these things come down, and it's kind of very, very intimidating, and you feel very insignificant and vulnerable. But that is something that happens typically in that part of the world. However, this is much more exaggerated. It sounds like, I don't know if these things are becoming contrived, if things are through some of the quantum computing and some of these CERN type of, because there's more than one of these facilities that exist around the world. There is probably a few of them in the U.S. now, and there's some activity and research going on in Texas in particular. I'm not really sure which is bringing this in, but they're not being very mindful of the repercussions of what's going on. And it can be astronomical to think about, a state of emergency in a few of the states just over flooding, electrical wires going down. I guess some $2 million house got hit, the building, just like lightning hit and caused a great fire. It's man against nature in that part of the world, but I will say that this is a little extraordinary, kind of extreme, and given that there are other things going on in California, so we have California in the Midwest, something is stirring things up on an energetic level, and that this is what I typically talk about, what is happening on the dimensional plane. Whatever happens above, so it is below, and so this is the repercussions of what's going on, and probably more. In Europe, there is some really strange things happening as well, and I'm about to do another report on the yellow vest because there's something else that has arrived, and it's called the black vests. And that is another group that's going to be coming in that has tried to go into the Paris airport, and I guess I'm not really sure where they're from. Maybe in Africa somewhere. A huge amount of people coming in, and they are claiming the land. So we have some really strange things going on, and it's kind of a kickback of what has been happening. And so also people have been sending me all these different things, and also articles about this activity in the UK with Tommy Robinson. So keep an eye out. You stay informed. Set an intention, highest intention for humanity. I will say, give some good news that some of the timelines did seem entangled, and I did see that some things were adjusted this week. So we do have some adversaries, some of beings that are on our side that are here to support us. And there are the contrary ones that want to see the earth pulled apart and in chaos. I will be doing a report on the yellow vests and discuss how they're trying to bring in the New World Order. They've done this before, so they seem pretty confident that they can do it again, but I have a feeling that we're a little bit wiser than we were a couple hundred years ago when they tried to do this before, or they had done it before, or the early 1800s. So let's stay awake, stay vigilant, and keep our eyes on the divine things, recognizing that there is nothing greater than who we are, and there's nothing greater than our divine purpose, and I tell people not to worry. And don't worry, but set an intention, send out the energy, and let's all keep everyone updated with what's happening. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.